Mom stood framed in the doorway, her hand on the wooden latch. "From now on, consider yourself a stranger," she said, quiet, precise, then dropped the bolt. The dry clack of metal found its notch like a gunshot underwater. I stood on the gravel path while bay wind pushed salt and fresh paint into my eyes, harsher than CS gas at the range. The porch where I used to tie my laces before getting underway tilted into a steep pier. I didn't have a berth anymore. I clenched the little anchor keychain, a gift from a retired boatswain, until the ridges pressed into my palm. The porch light flickered once, tired. Her shadow slid off the frosted glass and disappeared. "Mom," I called, throat sandy. No answer. I turned and walked away, slow, each crunch of gravel sounding like the end-of-watch bell. In the car, the door shut with a stamp. On the back seat, my dress blues in a garment bag, a faded beach tote, a plastic bin loaded with small line, a shine kit, a duty log, and a Polaroid of a ship's deck. I checked my phone. The family group chat was gone, kicked out, probably. I called Janie, my best friend from high school, and went straight to voicemail. The black screen bounced my face back at me, flushed, puffy-eyed, some tired stranger I didn't recognize. I rolled along Harbor Drive. Down by Shelter Island, the mast stood like a metal forest. Gulls cut across the windshield, leaving little hook-shaped shadows. I pulled into a lot by the water. The wind was strong enough to make the flags sound like paperwork riffling. I breathed in a 4-count, inhale, hold, exhale, like I do standing near the windlass. One cold thought surfaced. In 4 words, my family just took away my right to call any place home. My studio has 2 camp chairs, an air mattress, 1 cast iron skillet, and a clearance curtain. I pictured the night ahead. Door opens, hot plastic smell, the box fans clatter, a low tide of empty. In my phone notes I typed, "Maintain discipline. Don't react, act." Then I killed the ringer and set the phone face down. The anchor's edge was still stamped into my skin. Part of me wanted to go back and pound on the door, to list every storm watch, every deck scrub that wrinkled my fingers like fish scales, every late night, "I'm safe" call after a long duty week. The other part, the one trained on chain of command, stopped me. Sailors don't beg a door that's locked from the inside. Sailors find the lifeboat, start the engine, and clear the harbor when the eddy starts to spin. I called Tyler. He picked up. "Where are you?" he asked. "Parking lot by the bay," I said. He went quiet a long time, then maybe let this sit a few days. I wanted to ask, sit for who? For the family's reputation on the town magazine cover, for Bruce's wine-tasting crowd. I just said, "Okay." We hung up. The blank screen threw back a ghost of me in the driver's seat. I popped the glove box and pulled a wrinkled list. Night shift kit, gloves, duct tape, headlamp batteries. I added cheapest detergent. At the container yard, metal and grease cling longer than tears. Detergent scrubs it off your cuffs. I thought, even the ocean isn't fair to anyone, it's only fair to itself. The streetlights came on. Light fell and my phone lit like a Morse ping. An unfamiliar email sat in my inbox, a law firm I'd never heard of. Subject line, "Request for signature irrevocable trust family matter." I read it 3 times. Signature, irrevocable, family thumped in my chest like a 3-bladed screw. Polite wording everywhere, per your convenience, expedite beneficiary. A link, a PDF. I started to reply, "Who authorized this? Why now? What happens if I don't sign?" And paused a finger width above the glass. On deck, before you drop anchor, you check charts, read wind, confirm position. Same here. I deleted every word I'd typed, opened my notebook, and wrote in big block letters, "Radio silence." If you've had a night like this, called a stranger at the house you painted, cleaned, kept, lines cut, a whole city humming as if none of it is about you, stay with me. I'm not promising fireworks. I'm telling the truth, and I'll keep the same discipline I keep at the windlass, steady hands, eyes forward. I clicked the seat belt and turned the key. The engine's low, even hum felt more reliable than any promise. Before I pulled out, I looked one last time at the dark water. Marina lights hung there like stars tied on with thin wire. The phone buzzed again, same law firm, tighter tone with an attachment. I drew a breath, dropped into gear, and rolled. Tonight I won't answer. Tonight, silence is my life vest. I eased along Nimitz in a film of morning mist, memories slipping through the rear view like ships ghosting a salty fog. I was 17 when the envelope arrived, navy blue crest from a top swim program. The coach called me the kid with diesel lungs, steady as a marine engine. I pictured new lanes, dorm towels in team colors, a poster of some Olympian who'd fought the clock and won. Mom admired the envelope, said it was pretty, then set it down like it burned. The family needs you close. Tyler's finals are in 3 months. Bruce added, all authority. Girls shouldn't go far, trouble. When I argued, Mom said I was making a scene. When I went quiet, she said, if you don't want to go, just say it. I took the envelope to my room and pressed the letter flat between textbooks like a leaf in a field guide. Around midnight, I could see a faint ridge where the fold had bruised the paper. I didn't cry. People say tears are salty. I had the Pacific outside my window. No need to add more. After that came the white scooter I bought on my own, gate shifts on base, weekend warehouse work. I chose white so it'd pop at night, the way a ship's name is painted bold across the bow. 14 months of payments, registration crumpled like a storm-battered flag. When Tyler needed a ride for his part-time job, Bruce dropped the key into his palm. Family shares, he said, and stuck a temporary label on it. That temporary receded like a tide that never returns. I walked for weeks, shirt sticking to my back, watching the scooter zip past a corner like a bird I'd hand-raised shooting for the sky. The one time I brought it up, Bruce tapped his spoon on his bowl. Don't cause division. Mom ladled more soup. Sit and eat. I sat. Lemon and dill couldn't cover the metallic taste under my tongue. On a ship, we have a rule. No family talk during operations. At home, their rule. No deployment talk at dinner. I learned to let words like underway, foredeck, lashings die in my throat. One night I started to tell a storm story, how the bosun read the wind with his bare hands and called for the hook one beat early, saving our bow from a sandbar. Mom set her knife on the plate, Kang, and said, don't bring deck smell to the table. I swallowed it. Funny how people can smell salt even when it's only words. After that, I talked weather, gas prices, stories with no ocean in them. The fewer waves, the more they laughed. I got quieter. Between silences, Bruce dangled a promise like dropping a galvanized anchor into mud. When you leave the Navy, come work for me, steady pay, air conditioning. He sketched a square in the air, a bright office window. AC is cool, sure, but a wet deck in sea wind has its own cool one that grabs your skin and reminds you you're alive. I didn't nod, didn't shake my head. I let the promise sit like a lump of lead. I pulled into a convenience store. In the back seat, my dress blues lay flat, shoulder line crisp like a command. I bought coffee, 2 packs of ramen, the cheapest detergent on the shelf. The cashier checked my ID, looked up, and said, "Thank you for your service." That line always knots me up. I haven't done anything grand. I've just learned to uncoil line and tie it back down day after day. Still, thanks, I nodded. Outside, the heat off the lid woke my nose, and I realized I was counting breaths the old way. 4. 4 hold, 4 out. In the driver's seat, I scrolled old photos. Me and Mom at the marina under festival lights. Our smiles more alike than I'd ever admitted. Tyler hugging a cheap guitar, eyes bright like he couldn't imagine the word stranger used on someone at his own table. The white scooter with the little turtle sticker. I used to say turtles finish their race, too. I stopped on a grainy picture. Me by a window, the scholarship letter folded in my hand, a brown water spot on the corner. I remembered sliding that letter into the bottom of a drawer and felt the same sensation, nudging a boat off the dock and not jumping aboard. The phone buzzed. New email from the law firm, polite but pushy. Gentle reminder, time sensitive. I read it like a hurricane bulletin. There's a map, a swirl, a projected landfall. Projections aren't destiny. I long pressed and marked it unread, tucking the flare back in its tube. Reflex pulled me into drafts. I typed, "Please provide full authority documents, list of beneficiaries, distribution terms, and the reason for contacting me at this time." I added, "From here on, all communications by email." The cursor blinked like a bow light. I deleted everything, not out of fear. Because you don't fire a flare into fog to prove you have one. You listen for the bell buoy first. I sat still, letting heat from the coffee bleed through the lid into my palm. Sometimes the hardest thing isn't rowing against the chop. It's sitting still so the wave passes without swallowing you. In my notebook under last night's radio silence, I added, "Preserve evidence. Don't argue, hold the line." Then I opened my photos, screenshotted each email, downloaded attachments, and saved them to a folder named like a life ring. Tie fast. When I turned the key, a slip of ocean air knifed through the window seal, salt on my tongue. I thought of swim practice, wall kicks, and cool blue lanes. My lane had been cut short once, then shortened again by temporary borrows, silent dinners, and dangling promises. But the ocean out there is still full, and my lungs still work. I don't need anyone to blow the final whistle for me. I raised the window and sent a small invisible nod to the cashier who'd thanked me for serving. Service means a lot of things. Sometimes it means serving the straight line inside yourself. I swung by the studio before shift. The room greeted me with hot plastic and fan rattle. I hung the dress blues, smoothing the collar like touching a flag. On the folding table, I laid out my notebook, a charging cable, and an empty file folder. On the cover, I wrote, "Exhibits do not miss." I didn't have enough paperwork yet to label A, B, C, but I knew they were coming. I put my phone face down and killed the sound. Outside, a freight truck rolled past, leaving a low tremor like a heartbeat under a shirt. "Don't bring deck smell into the house," Mom used to say. "Okay, the house has sent me back to sea. I'll bring the deck into my story instead, disciplined, not loud. And before I do anything else, I'll stand by the windlass the way a trained hand does, waiting for the right order, the right beat. I won't answer the email. I won't text my mother. I'll just take one more turn on my own line and make it fast." The studio has nothing but an air mattress, 2 camp chairs, and a box fan wheezing like a tired bilge pump. I open the tap and count like I'm on a ship. Wet off, soap on, rinse. A towel slumps over the window frame. Cheap detergent and hot plastic blend into a scent like sea spray spiked with asphalt. I flip open a plastic tote and stage a tiny deck. Shine kit, a roll of tape, box cutter, notebook. I buff my shoes until they throw back a pin of light, not because anyone will see them, but because when my shoes are clean, my head usually is too. I fold shirts the way I fold blankets at sea. Edges true, no slack. The dress blues hang in their bag, collar lying quiet like a reminder of the order I swore to keep. I tape a sheet of white card to the wall and write 4 lines. "Sleep enough, eat simple train log." It looks silly, but those 4 orders got me through nights when the engine noise mashed thoughts into foam. Before I leave, I scan for weak points. A sparking outlet, a door sweep that leaks wind, a cactus leaning off plumb. I shim the pot. I don't have much left to hold. What remains has to stand upright. The car coughs once and dies. Dash lights blink, then silence, like someone twisted the volume knob. Second try, just a whine. I pop the hood with a head gone blank as an empty log page. I've spent years tying, lashing, snugging line. Electricity is the one line I never learned. A low, warm voice behind me. "Battery?" I turn. a wiry old man in an oil-stained tee, silver hair, jumper cables in hand. "Alvarez," he says, tapping his chest, then jerks his chin toward the apartment block across the street. "Second floor, I see you most nights." I take his hand, sheepish. "Reese," he doesn't pry. He lifts his hood, clips the leads like he's pitching a tarp before a storm. "Red to positive, don't let em kiss." I mirror his hands, steady as if I'm clamping a turn of anchor line. The engine catches on the third try, shakes, then settles. Each vibration lands square on my breastbone. "Thank you for your service," he says, light as weather talk. I answer the line that always trips me up. "Thanks for noticing." He smiles, two deep grooves at the corners of his mouth. "I ran engine rooms most my life. Leave whatever needs fixing outside your door. I don't promise timing, but I hate broken things." Before he goes, he taps the edge of my dress blues peeking through the glass. "Sharp. Keep 'em clean." I nod, eyes burning for no good reason. The road into the container yard is dipped in late light. Gate guard waves me through. The LED board ticks off truck numbers like embarkation. Forklifts beep. The air smells of metal, wet wood, hot rubber. I check in with the shift lead and take my assignment. My spine lines up on its own. Here there are rules and maps and load limits per box and minimums between shelves. Order is a kind of kindness when the world outside insists on chaos. I walk the red, blue, gray canyons. Every box is a sealed story under customs tape and steel. Each clack of a twist lock sounds like a period. I test locks, chalk mark, note the log as if I'm on deck. Box number, slot, status. Muscle memory works ahead of thought, the way hands remember the path of line. Now and then a lobe of bay wind sneaks through the loading doors, salt cutting in and flicking receipts like flying fish. Mid-shift I slurp cup noodles, split a cheap hot dog, shake pepper. The heat softens my throat like a pop-up stove in winter quarters. I lean back on a pallet and stare up at the corrugated roof. A misting rain begins, tapping like someone drumming a knife tip. In my notebook I jot, "Mr. Alvarez jumper cables a kind stranger." Then flip to exhibits, do not miss, and add, "Scooter photos registration Bruce share texts." I draw 3 blank squares labeled A, B, C. It looks like a kid's game. It will end with grown-ups crying. Radio crackles for a South Row lock check. "On it," I answer. The alley runs long and narrow. Wind funnels through like a city side street and slaps the hair at my nape. I go, palm each lock, cold as fish skin. All quiet except one fresh scratch. I note it, snap a pic. Passing the key, my shadow skates along a corrugated wall like a torn strip of film, one small sailor marching a steel valley. End of shift. I wipe my hands with an alcohol wipe. The sterile bite clears my head. At the log-out desk, the lead asks, "You good, Carter?" "Good, sir," I say. Not because life is good, but because I'm still at my station on time, laces tight, checklist full. In a lot of places, good is the thin fence between going on and coming apart. Out in the lot, Mr. Alvarez is head down in another open hood. He looks up and lifts a canvas bag. "For you." Inside, his repaired jumper cables, a small portable charger, a coil of zip ties. "Keep it in the trunk. If no one's around at night, you help yourself." I try to pay. He waves me off. "Pay some other day. I owe a few good sailors in my life." He tells a quick, undramatic story about a sailor who pulled his car out of soft sand at Imperial Beach. "Somebody pulled me, I pull you." We stand under the street lamp. I say something that sounds dumb but is true. "I'll keep the kit clean." He grins. Clean is discipline. Back at the studio, I hang his bag next to the dress blues. I scrub my hands longer than usual, working the soap through calluses like I'm washing a day's grit out of the story. I stage my desk. Laptop, notebook, a glass of water, an empty file folder. I rename the Tie Fast folder to Tie Fast 01, the way we number lines on board. I re-download the emails and date stamp the files. Everything starts to settle into grooves, cable in the right chalk. Phone buzz, the law firm again. Not just a gentle reminder this time, but a crisp summary of terms attached, plus a cheerful link to schedule a quick call, and a button labeled Confirm Availability. The word availability makes me laugh under my breath. They're asking if I'm available. I'm relearning what that word means. I don't click. I screenshot, save, and write in the log. No response. Maintain silence. Ask JAG first. I kill the lights and leave the desk lamp, throwing a small cone onto the empty folder. Somewhere outside, a tugboat moans, one long line across the night. I lie back on the air mattress, my spine finding the cool of concrete through thin vinyl, and think about Mr. Alvarez, gray locks, bright shoes, the smell of bargain soap, the little anchor on my keys. This deck may be poor, but it's mine. Tomorrow I'll call Naomi, Jag. Tonight silence stays my life vest. The phone buzzes once more, then quits. I roll over, let it go. The ocean keeps hitting the pilings without me issuing orders. I pull the thin blanket up to my chest and let the box fan sing like a ship's engine on idle, steady, low, stubborn. In the corner, my dress blues stand watch. I open the law firm's email on my laptop, black words schooling across white like fish. Irrevocable trust, beneficiary, expedite, per your convenience. I read slow, each term landing like metal tapped against a rail. An attachment blinked, summary terms. PDF, a tidy digest someone had prettied up to show only the flattering angles. I dragged it into my folder, date stamped it, then screenshotted the whole thread. The keyboard felt a little salty under my fingertips, sweat, or the container yard clinging to me. Either way, a reminder this was real work, not a dream. I called Naomi. Her voice popped like a cork, quick, clear, warm. I gave her the short version, branded a stranger, the trust emails, the gentle reminders, dangling promises, the feeling of a ship hauled into dry dock without orders. Naomi didn't cut in. She took a breath and read it off like a checklist. First, do not sign. Second, preserve everything. Third, set communication boundaries, email only, no calls, no meetups, no let's grab a drink and chat. Fourth, ask for 2 buckets of info, authority, who's trustee, who's legal rep, any power of attorney and terms, distributions, triggers, any withdrawal rights, conflicts of interest. Fifth, and you know this from day one, clear is kind. Especially to yourself. That phrase dropped an anchor inside me. I could feel it touch sand. She offered to sit in as a friend advisor. I told her I just needed the legal frame and a comms plan. Good, she said. Then radio silence continues, structured silence. Send 1 email acknowledging receipt, list specific documents requested, and state all communications will be in writing. She dictated a template. I copied it into my notebook, block letters neat as rivets. When we hung up, I woke the cheap printer under my desk. It squealed dryly, spitting pages like cable running a tight pulley. I printed the emails, the summary sheet, clipped them tight. On the cover of exhibits, do not miss, I logged index 0 for the entire correspondence and left 3 empty slots, a /B/C for the pattern we were proving. Scholarship cut, scooter shared, job promise. The paper was still warm. I bulleted questions, trusteed by, power of attorney, amendments, no contact clause. I didn't know if that last thing existed, but writing it calmed me. In the yard, you slap fragile so every hand remembers to go gentle. In life, I label my limits. I drafted the email, formal opening by the book. I acknowledge receipt of your correspondence. To review responsibly, please provide. 5 bullets followed, each one a cleat to tie to. The full trust, any amendments/addenda, identity and legal authority of your representative, a distribution table and conditions, prior contact history, and the reason for the timing of your outreach. I closed with one line. Please conduct all communications via email. I read it twice and stripped it of adjectives. When I'd erased the word urgent from my head, I hit send. The tiny whoosh was a dot dash dot in the dark. Message sent. The right frequency, no chatter. I rinsed a mug. Water drummed porcelain like surf on rock. I caught myself using the sound to pace my calm and laughed under my breath. Someone once asked why Navy people turn every story into ocean. I don't know. Maybe because the ocean taught me how to exist without an audience, and how retreat can be as artful as attack. The phone buzzed. Auto reply. We have received your request. A representative will respond. Then quiet. Not storm quiet, glass conference room quiet. I opened the exhibit's log and added a line. Receipt confirmation under index 0. I handled the pages like a folded flag, every crease with a purpose. Afternoon slipped along the studio wall like a long fish. I pulled the shade and clicked on the desk lamp. To keep from staring at the inbox, I did what I could control. Called the utility about my bill, washed old Navy tees, swapped headlamp batteries. I put on a podcast, some veteran talking healthy boundaries with family. He called them supply lines for your energy. Don't let anyone control your supply lines, he said. I paused to write that down. On deck, we guard supply like life. Here, I guard my sleep and my inbox. Another email from the firm, not documents, but an invite to hop on a quick call to explain, much easier. I didn't click. I screenshotted and saved. I replied with one short line. As stated, I will receive information via email for accuracy. I sent it, then circled the word accuracy and read in my notebook, not to flex at them, but to remind myself. Don't let the hunger to be soothed drag me into a conversation where my boundaries stretch thin. On a quick errand, ocean air needled my face, iodine clean. I passed a bridal shop window, cold light poured over white dresses. For no good reason, I thought of the scholarship I didn't take more than any wedding I've ever missed. Our lives have ceremonies that never happen and still haunt us. I texted Naomi. Requested docs in writing, they want to meet, I declined. She sent a thumbs up and added, good discipline. That night I squared the file stack and stuck a small note on top, structured silence. I felt steady. My pulse wasn't racing the inbox anymore. I powered down and went to wash my face. A tiny beep. New email, not the law firm. I opened it. A glossy e-invite, marina photo under fairy lights, gold embossed title. Marina Charity Night Family and Friends. Down at the bottom, Linda and Bruce's hosts with a line, we'd love for our daughter Reese to attend and help reconcile the family. I stared at it a long time. Water kept running in the sink, steady as a far-off signal. I shut the tap and dried my hands, feeling the skin tighten. If it's a trap, it's wrapped in ribbon. I left the invite open on the screen and heard, in my head, 3 short knocks. Tap, tap, tap. I unzipped the garment bag and slid out my dress blues. The fabric was cool. The seams felt like discipline you could touch. I worked the polish until the room light drew a small white comet on each toe cap. In the mirror, my bun sat tight, collar snug, brass quiet. No jewelry. I tucked the little anchor keychain into the inner pocket like a spell. Outside, bay wind pushed brine through a hint of ship timber. I took one long breath and headed out. The marina glittered under fairy lights, stars strung to wire. Guests clustered in cheerful knots, glass met glass, music lapped like a friendly tide. At the gate, the list keeper clocked the navy pin on my lapel, eyes bright. Welcome, ma'am. I nodded, polite, economical, heads turned. Dress blues are a beacon, people either steer away or drift closer. Almost nobody just floats. Mom slipped from the crowd, perfume I knew by heart, hair sleeked flat. You made it, she said, smile drawn like a bow. Bruce followed in a fresh suit, tie the color of red wine. "You look impressive," he offered, half compliment, half cue. I spotted Tyler at the edge with a soda, eyes pinned to the planks. I tipped my chin. He blinked and slid sideways like he needed shade. Our table sat right at the waterline. Hulls mirrored the sky into black-green plates. My seat landed between Mom and one of her friends, the kind who talks about diamond bracelets the way other people talk about weather. Mom placed her hand on mine, smile at the perfect wattage. Tonight is for happy family talk, no business. Business meant anything she didn't like, including my request for documents in writing. I eased my hand back, laid the napkin on my lap the way you lay a chart flat. "Sweetheart," Bruce dropped his voice, salesman gentle. "With that trust, one signature and everything moves, everyone's happy. Your mother has done so much work." He said happy like a slide title. I sipped water, faint chlorine on my tongue. "I'm waiting on complete documents," I said. "As I wrote, explanations belong in writing." Mom's friend tipped her head. "So formal, it's family." I gave her a polite smile. "Families need clarity most, ma'am." Starters landed. Cutlery murmured. Mom leaned in, voice low but pitched for the table. "Don't bring Navy stiffness here. We know you're busy, but there are times to trust family." I set my fork down and met her eyes. "I trust process." Bruce arched a brow. "Process serves people and protects them from hasty decisions," I said. At the next table, someone bragged about a new boat named after a French grape. I counted breath like I do in Storm Watch. 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out. A photographer's flash popped. Mom pulled me close for a picture. Her hand landed on my shoulder. My shoulder didn't move. As the flash cooled, she whispered, "After photos, we'll just step over there and sign a few things, quick." Quick sounded like ditching life jackets to travel light. I shook my head. "I'm not signing anything tonight." The table paused like wind shifting. Mom's friend cleared her throat. Bruce laced his fingers. "You willing to trade the family's good name here for this?" I looked at him, soft voice, steel center. "I won't trade my boundary." A man around 50 sat across in a navy blazer, sail pin on his lapel. He lifted his glass, half jokey, half test. "You're awfully strict, sailor. On my boat, quick decisions keep you alive." I gave him the courteous smile we keep for harbor talks. "On my boat, navigation rules keep you alive. No one turns left without checking the light." He blinked, then snorted, raising his glass in truce. From the main stage, they thanked sponsors, Mom and Bruce included. Mom returned to the table glowing with family values. As she passed, she breathed, "Don't embarrass me, Reese." The words hit the planks like a thrown anchor. Behind her, Tyler shook his head once. "Don't." I exhaled, set my napkin down, stood. "I need air." My voice was so calm it surprised me. Out at the rail, my palm found cold metal. The water breathed steady and dark. The fairy lights broke into bead chains on the surface. I palmed the anchor keychain. Cool metal put me back inside myself. Heels ticked on wood behind me. "Mom, you're making me lose face," she said, dropping the sugar. "You wore that uniform to lecture me." I waited for the wave in my chest to pass. "I wore it because it keeps me clear." She laughed under her breath. "Clear enough to push family out of your life." "Family used stranger first," I said, still even. "We let the music carry us stretch." She looked at me like I was a ship refusing to make port. "They just need your signature," she said. "So the trust runs. You sign and it's done, everything back to normal." Over her shoulder, I saw Tyler hanging back. I pitched my voice so all 3 could hear. "Nothing goes back to normal if the operation isn't transparent." I asked for documents. "I won't sign here. I won't sign without reading." Bruce closed in, wine on his breath. "You playing hardball to bargain? Fine, name a num." I cut him off without raising mine. "There is no number." Wind came up like a curtain pull. I took a half step back, not giving my spine to the corner post. If you invited me here to pressure me, I said, the invitation ends now. I turned toward the exit. Reese, Mom called. I stopped, waiting for a lawful order. She pointed, eyes hurt and hot. You're making yourself the outsider. I pocketed the anchor and said, steady, I don't need a game without rules. I walked the planks, shoe leather marking an even cadence. Someone wished me a nice night, I nodded. At the lot, I stripped my gloves, let cool air thread my fingers. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. If you prefer a more flexible approach, I can represent the family. Everyone could benefit. Screenshot. Into Thai Fast 01. No reply. I started the engine, let the radio murmur, and idled out. Back at the studio, I hung the dress blues, smoothed the collar like lowering colors at end of watch. I wrote in the log, Marina Knight attempted pressure, refused, insist on written. Under it, a line surfaced by itself. Hire a civil attorney, ex-Marine, paper war style. I don't know why Marine popped up, maybe because I need someone who fights with files, waits for the right beat, then hits soft tissue. The phone buzzed again. The law firm, reminder, need signature to proceed on time. I set the phone down. The ocean doesn't hurry, neither do I. But tomorrow I start looking for Marcus Hale, a name that struck through my memory like steel on steel. Marcus's office sat on the third floor of an old brick building near the courthouse. The hallway smelled like paper, stale coffee, and polished wood. A small, square sign read, Hale and Associates. I pressed the buzzer. The curly-haired receptionist clocked the navy pin on my jacket and gave me the kind of nod you give someone from your side of the water. He'll be 10 minutes, she said. I sat beneath a framed photo of a Marine in dress uniform beside a Humvee. Smile held back, eyes straight. Next to it, a snapshot of laughing kids, no caption. I thought about my own family pictures, the way they were curated to tell one single, pretty story. Marcus came out with the cadence of someone who used to live by an operations calendar. Tall, broad-shouldered, early gray, tie loosened one notch like a man always ready to roll to the scene. His handshake was firm, not punishing. Hail, he said and waved me in. A folded flag sat on the wall with a tarnished brass plate that read Semper Fi. I set Thai Fast 01 on his desk, spine already frayed. I need you to teach me how to swim these waters without getting pulled under, I said. He nodded, eyes narrowing the way you gauge wind. I gave him the short version, branded a stranger, signature demand by email, the marina party, and the offer to handle things flexibly. I slid across what I had in print, Index 0, the email thread, photos of the scooter and the old registration, screenshots of family share texts, a scan of the scholarship letter folded in half. I added the list of open questions, trusteed by, amendments, distribution table, why now? He turned each page like checking a magazine well. We'll need more receipts, older emails, anything that shows a pattern of strip, manipulate, create dependence, he said, voice steady as a diesel. You file well. My job is to turn order into a strike. We charted the ground like marking fishing lanes. Exhibit A, the killed scholarship emails, Mom's handwritten note, the folded acceptance letter. Exhibit B, the scooter installment contract, registration, Tyler riding, temporary borrow texts. Exhibit C, the job promise, Bruce's messages, and the family company steady pay blurb. I added a small section, context log, silent dinners where deployment talk was banned, the don't bring deck smell home line. Marcus jotted a few words. Not for drama, he said, for motive. The mediator will need the wide shot. He opened his laptop and drafted a document request. Full trust, all amendments, authority documents, trustee identity, distribution schedule, and the reason for the timing. The wording was tight, cold, and left no room for squirm. We keep it in writing, Marcus said. Words on a pier don't stand up in a mediator's room. I signed a limited authorization letting him contact them. The pen on paper sounded like chalk across a weathered deck. When I finished, my chest lightened the way it does when the anchor chain finally bites. "Do you even want the money?" he asked, straight on, no judgment. "I want transparency," I said, "and maybe I want to never hear from them again." He raised an eyebrow. "No money," I nodded. "If that's the price, I'll pay it." He leaned back, exhaled, almost smiled. "Clear, I like clients who say it plain." Then he tipped forward, command voice dropping a notch. "Plan is, go in calm, bait with courtesy, then hit with paper. You don't talk much. I talk. If they ask what you want, you give 2 words, the boundary." We spent an hour hauling memories into the boat and tagging them. I called the bank for old statements proving the scooter payments. I dug up a team bulletin that listed my scholarship back then. I logged an unpretty detail, Bruce's spoon on the bowl. "Don't cause division," when I asked about the scooter. Marcus listened, nodded, no comfort, no softeners. That's what I needed, someone who records facts to use at the right time. When the receptionist brought coffee, Marcus pulled a fresh file and wrote in marker, "Reese strategy." Inside, he clipped 3 heavy tabs, A, B, C. "There'll be a D if the trust tries any sign to unlock clause that undercuts fiduciary duty," he added, voice dry as statute. I smiled despite myself. We were playing a grown-up game. The game pieces were facts, facts cut. His phone buzzed. He glanced, smirked. The firm had replied to our request, another polite summary, still no full trust. "Good," Marcus said. "They want the shallows. We pull them into deep water." He answered with a citation-laced email on the beneficiary's right to information and stamped a response deadline on it. "I don't threaten," he said. "I set marks." I left with strategy under my arm and a straighter spine. Wind funneled down from the high rises. My hair kept a hint of coffee. I swung by the container yard before shift, mirrored every photo and email to a small hard drive padded in foam like a handheld radio. On the cover of Thai Fast 01, I added a note. "All comms via Marcus. From now on, anyone pings me, I forward." I cut the supply line that runs straight into my chest. Mid-evening on lock check, my phone buzzed, a forward from Marcus. Proposed mediation date and a downtown conference room, list of their attendees, Mom and Bruce under trustees representative. I stopped with my hand still on a lock handle. My heart didn't speed up. It shifted cadence like a boat changing heading. I texted Marcus. "Confirmed, I'll be there." He replied almost instantly. "Copy. From now to then you gather, don't waste rounds." Back at the studio, I spread the files like a net. I circled the gaps and wrote a need list, an old marina photo with Mom for contrast, scooter maintenance receipts, the email Janie got from Mom telling her not to help me. I pinged Janie. "If you still have that don't get involved email from my mom, can you forward?" No sob story, just a request. Janie shot back okay and a chain titled FW, be careful. I saved and date stamped it. Each piece thunked into its tray. Late, I sat with my shoes and wiped invisible dust because no one else would. I thought of Mr. Alvarez, clean is discipline. I thought of Naomi, clear is kind. I thought of Marcus, go in calm, then strike. A quiet smile found me. I don't own a boat, I own a course, and I'm no longer swimming alone. Before lights out, I penciled a sentence between bullets. I won't bargain with my wounds. Under it, I drew an arrow and wrote, "Mediation, bring a /B/C plus index 0 plus single answer to what do you want, no contact." The phone buzzed, Marcus's end of day. Mediation locked. "Tomorrow we rehearse your script. Few words, right place. We go in calm, then we strike." I closed the notebook. Outside, wind hissed through the cables with that steel-on-steel sound, cold, familiar. I killed the lamp and let silence keep doing its job as a life vest. The conference room sat high above the city, glass from floor to ceiling, the flat roofs below laid out like container lids. The AC blew hospital cold. On the table, a tray of coffee, bottled water, a stapler, a box of tissues, comforts arranged like a ritual to keep tempers smooth. The mediator was a silver-haired woman with a husky voice and eyes that measured the distance between people and the truth. Across from us, the law firm's representative, middle-aged, composed, and my mother and Bruce. Tyler's name wasn't on the attendee list. I recognized Mom's perfume before I took in her stare. I slid into the chair beside Marcus. He tilted his head once. Calm. The mediator laid out the ground rules. Not a court, not a verdict. The goal is common ground. I took a sip of water and set the bottle exactly on the mark Marcus had drawn with his pen, line in the right chalk. The firm's rep opened with the standard hymn. The family wishes to proceed quickly for everyone's benefit. The words proceed quickly scraped a nerve. Marcus kept his voice flat. Quick is fine when it's correct. We need correct first. The mediator nodded. Let's define correct. Marcus asked to proceed by exhibits. He slid out Exhibit A, the scholarship letter plus a family email from that time with a handwritten line, "Stay home for family." He didn't emote for me. He didn't skip details. Here we see a pattern of opportunity control, a choice removed, justified by family. This is context for the later push for signatures. The firm's rep smiled politely. Not directly related. Marcus. It speaks to motive and habit in managing family interests. The mediator jotted notes and asked if Mom wanted to respond. Mom adjusted her hair. We did what was best for our daughter then. Marcus placed a photo of the letter's creased edge on the table and said nothing. Silence is evidence, too. Exhibit B. The scooter, installment contract in my name, registration, photos of Tyler riding it, Bruce's text. Family shares. Marcus, here is pattern 2, redefining ownership. Temporary borrow becomes share, becomes indefinite possession. Bruce's mouth twitched. We gave it back. Marcus slid over a page listing maintenance I'd paid for. After how long? No paperwork, no commitment, no make good. The mediator lifted a hand. I get the point. I kept my hands folded on my lap, fingernails touching the seam of my slacks to keep myself from saying things that didn't need saying. Exhibit C. Bruce's texts promising a job when you leave the Navy. Marcus read it short. A dependency lure, conditional promise, nothing binding, nudging the recipient into an obligation with no terms. The firm's rep crossed his arms. Still not touching the trust. Marcus gave a courteous smile. I'm building the frame. Now index 0, your entire email thread about the irrevocable trust. You provide summaries, but no full trust, no authority, no distribution schedule, and you urge a quick signature. He slid the stack to the mediator, fingertip tapping each missing piece like a switch. They produced a fresher, prettier summary, bigger logo, same holes. Marcus glanced once and pushed it back. Insufficient. The mediator turned to them. Beneficiaries are entitled to the original instrument. The rep shrugged, then pulled a thick, black-backed bundle from his case. Here. Marcus took it and flipped fast, like a tech inspecting an engine bay. His eyes stopped on a yellow tab. He pulled a page and set it aside. There's a handwritten addendum. His voice dropped half a tone, not for drama, for precision. My chest tilted a half-degree like a hull catching wind. The mediator asked to read it. Thin paper, ink feathered at the edges, old hand slant, decisive strokes. Not a will, instructions. Distributions only with transparent conditions, no coercion, and a line about the granddaughter who chose to serve at sea. A direction that her decision is hers and her peace comes first. No one said the word warrior out loud, but I heard it resonate in my bones. Mom adjusted in her chair, fingertip on the table once. Bruce drank water and avoided eyes. The rep murmured, "That's a non-binding draft," the mediator cut in. "This addendum is attached, initialed, dated." Marcus didn't smirk. "It lands squarely against your make it quick. No version of quick trumps the instrument's priority on the beneficiary's piece." The room got quiet in the way AC can suddenly feel colder. The mediator set down her pen. "So, Reese, what do you want?" Marcus looked at me, a look that clicks the radio live, "Your mic." I swallowed once, but my voice was steady, the way it is when I read the safety brief on deck. "I want full transparency acknowledged today, and I will not accept any money from the family." I paused half a beat, letting the AC hiss turn into surf. "My only condition is a no-contact order. Permanent. No calls, no texts, no emails, no appearances. My name will not be used in fundraising, speeches, or family imagery." Mom looked up for the first time, anger and bewilderment braided together. "You want to erase family?" I faced the mediator and spoke slowly. "I want to erase the pressure that lets them call me a stranger at my own door." Bruce came half out of his chair. "Your demand is unreasonable." Marcus tipped his head, voice low and even. "My client is refusing money. Her only demand is a boundary. The addendum says her piece comes first. We are simply complying." The rep whispered with Mom. The mediator moved them to a breakout room. I stared at a skyline cut by building tops. Marcus placed a glass of water in front of me I didn't drink. "Good," he said softly. "You hit the mark." I nodded, hand on the anchor keychain in my pocket like a bolt. They came back. The rep's tone was smooth, edges tight. "In principle, we agree to provide the full documentation, to record MS, Carter's refusal of funds, and to accept a no-contact provision with specific scope." He read it out. "No calls, no texts, no emails, no showing up at home or work, no using my name in fundraising or publicity, no third-party outreach. Violations trigger the agreed remedies." Mom said nothing, twisting a tissue to shreds. Bruce looked at me like a boat watching its berth slip away. "No right to throw a rope." The mediator asked, "Reese, anything else?" I thought of Tyler. "One exception, if Tyler reaches out on his own, that's his choice. No one may use him as a messenger." The rep nodded and added the line. Marcus scanned the draft like a minesweeper. "We need a non-retaliation clause," he said. "No interference with her current or future employment." A pause, then a nod from across the table. Each nod felt like another screw biting down a hatch. By the end, the mediator bundled the terms and set a signing date. She looked at me long enough to be personal. "You're choosing the hard road." "The straight one," I said. Marcus packed the file and clicked the case shut. As we stood, Mom stepped close for the first time, voice very small. "Reese, you truly don't want any part?" I studied the familiar, far geometry of the face that raised me. "I want quiet," I said, and I just got it back. The elevator slid down as smooth as a hull at even RPM. Street-level doors opened to new sun. Marcus handed me a provisional copy, the ink sharp, no room for shadows. "One more engagement sign," he said. "Then you get underway." I half smiled. "I'm going to teach other people to paddle." We stepped into the wind, salt and bakery warm. My phone buzzed. Janie forwarded another old email from Mom, subject line, "Be careful." I dropped it straight into exhibit out of habit. Above the avenue, a clean circle of sky sat between two buildings like a lifebuoy. I slid the agreement into my bag, fingers still feeling the firm edge. The thought, "Am I alone?" rose like a bubble, then burst. I'm not alone. I just stopped standing at a dock where they charge admission to call you family. I walked away, listening to my heartbeat shift again, not faster, just surer. Signing day was ahead. After that, I'd write a different schedule, one with nobody's name on it but mine. The signing room was smaller than the mediation suite. No glass, no skyline, just beige paint and a round clock ticking steady like an engine on idle. The clerk set a thick stack in front of me, each page flagged with a colored tab. Marcus sat on my left, pen in hand like an antenna tuned to calm. Across the table, the firm's rep wore the pinched look of someone who'd learned to pronounce transparency. I read the no-contact terms slow. No calls, no texts, no emails, no appearances, no use of my name in fundraising or publicity, no third-party outreach, no interference with my current or future work. I nodded. The clerk tapped each tab. I signed strokes neat as chalk lines on a weathered deck. Last step, she said. Handwritten confirmation you understand. I added one short line, not a word extra. When she stapled the packet, the heavy thunk sounded like a deadbolt, only this time it locked from my side. Out in the hall, AC met the smell of fresh toner. The elevator doors closed and I looked at Marcus. He gave me one word, clear. I laughed small like spray off the bow. Sun hit us outside, trimming my shadow to a clean stripe. I palmed the little anchor in my pocket. The metal was cool. My phone buzzed, not Mom or the firm. Tyler, you free? I stepped under an awning and texted back, coffee by the marina. I dropped a pin. Marcus tipped me a two-finger salute. Call if you need. Copy, I said. Tyler was there before me, turning a bottle cap between his fingers. He looked thinner, hair longer, but his eyes were the same ones from the night he hugged a cheap guitar and believed every room had a warm corner. I pulled a chair. You signed? He asked, voice unsure. Yeah, I said. No contact. Exception stands you if you choose. He nodded, eyes on the scarred tabletop. He told me dinners had been quieter lately, like someone dialed the volume down. Bruce still framed everything as for the family. Mom went long stretches silent, then landed something hard that didn't quite stick. I'm not taking sides, he said, eyes blinking fast. I just want to stand on my own feet. I smiled. Good, your legs are strong enough. I took a cracked Polaroid from my wallet, me and Tyler at the marina under festival lights, his teeth bright as a shell shard. I slid it to him. Keep it. Remember, the ocean belongs to you even if no one teaches you how to swim. He pressed his lips together. I'll try. He slipped from I to I will, like a kid pulling on a size-up jacket. When you need a tow, I said, call me. Not for me to swim it for you, just to remind you how to breathe. He laughed, wet at the corners. We killed time talking guitars, job boards, and a community college class in basic mechanics. When we stood, he hugged me quick, the kind of hug that knows hugging is a promise. Thanks for not dropping me, he said. I only dropped the game without rules. I told him. That night back at the studio, I opened the dress blues, aired them, and smoothed the collar like lowering colors after a long watch. I pulled Tie Fast 01 from the shelf, filed the completed papers into a dry pouch, and labeled the box closed. Next to it, I set a pale blue folder and labeled it open. Inside, a fresh plan that still smelled like paper, permit for a small south side slip, a couple of used SUP boards to buy, contact info for a women veterans group to partner on weekend paddles. Title on the first page, Blue Lady Project by Reese Carter. The point wasn't to teach anyone to beat the waves. The point was to teach how to stand when the water shakes. On day one at the dock, the manager spotted the Navy patch on my pack and asked if I had rescue experience. I nodded. Perfect, he said. We need someone who knows when to shout and when to shut up. I grinned. I've got both. I wiped down boards, checked leashes, and coached 3 women vets on foot placement. One in front, one behind, knees soft, eyes up. The water under the boards breathed, sometimes swelling, sometimes flat. One woman in her 40s shook hard, fingers digging the rail. I stood beside her. You're not deploying today, I said quietly. You're going straight. She exhaled, lighter, stood, wobbled. I offered a hand, hovered, didn't touch, like a temporary pier. She settled. Her mouth trembled, then she laughed loud. It hit me. Sometimes people don't need ground, they need permission to trust their own balance. A season slid by on the class schedule. I kept my night shift at the container yard to feed the daytime project. Mornings, I was at the dock early, check boards, pump air, roll names, count heads like mustering a little deck. Mr. Alvarez stopped in now and then with a big pair of pliers and a bag of zip ties. Boards are like cars. Anything with line is my thing, he said. I thanked him. He watched from the pier, quiet as a buoy dropped in the right place. On low-ceiling mornings, the harbor light stayed on past dawn. On others, the sky was enamel blue. I taught people how to fall without fear and get back up certain they'd bob to the top. Nights, I rinsed boards, washed PFDs, and logged costs and rosters. Sometimes my pillow was damp with sweat, but sleep clipped on like a shackle to a ring. A year later, I sat at the edge of the dock watching SUP wakes knit themselves closed. The wooden sign at the head of the gangway read Blue Lady Project, its edges feathered by salt and sand. An email came in from a small foundation offering to sponsor New Life vests. It opened with "Thank you for your service" and closed with "Thank you for still serving." I leaned against a piling and felt my throat warm. The closed file slept at the bottom of a drawer. I hadn't touched it in months. Mom didn't call. Bruce didn't text. They held the no-contact line. Tyler sent me a photo sometimes, the scooter with a new owner, a beat-up bike he was fixing. Once he sent a clip of a song he'd recorded. I listened to the end. Solid, I texted back. He shot me a thumbs up. When the sun cleared a roof line, my first group wrapped. We peeled oranges on the dock, the peel perfuming our hands. One veteran asked, "Why do you do this?" I thought a beat. "Because one day I was called a stranger at my own front door," I said. "So I built a different dock, where anyone who shows up gets treated like family with rules." She smiled and nodded. A breeze lifted the string of fairy lights I'd hung under the little shed. They glowed faintly even by day, a private joke with the past. I stood. "Round 2, let's go." Laughter came back at me. Water opened the lane. If this story lands for you, if you've stood at a closed door and heard your name used wrong, drop a comment. Tell me how you learned to stand steady on choppy water. And if you need it, I'll show you the stance. 1 foot forward, 1 back, knees soft, eyes up. The rest you already own, the rhythm of your own breath.